Before the season kicks off, everybody's making predictions. Who wins the division? Who makes the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at season's end? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market.
Will the Seattle Seahawks win the NFC Championship? Right now, the Seahawks are trading at 12%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $725 if they take the NFC.
On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, which means there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and buy out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and so much more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use the code Wingo to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade at least $25. Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything.
18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Including how many takes it will take me to do this.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Golf Live. Glad you are here with us being Trey Wingo and the great Justin Ray. As is always the case, there is a bleep ton to talk about in the game of golf, and we will get into all of that. We're also going to get into your questions. And for those people that want to submit questions, it's very simple. If you don't know, I've done a bad job explaining that. Drop them on our YouTube page, Trey Wingo Golf. And those are where we get the comments from and the questions. So we always want to make sure we have time to spend with you guys and interact with you because you're taking time out of your day to spend time with us. So if you want to be a part of the comments and questions that the real person, Katrina, will read to us at the end of the show, that's the way to do it. Get your questions and comments in there. Justin, once again, so people know, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Justin Ray today?
I'm here back in Ponte Vedra Beach at PGA Tour Studios for the Tee Sheet, our show that we're going to do to preview the Tour Championship, live on the PGA Tour's YouTube and Twitter channels at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come check us out. Myself, Cheyenne Woods, and Shane Bacon previewing all things Eastlake. It's going to have a lot of fun. So many great things to talk about. I mean, not just what the news that we're going to speak about here in a minute, but we have an unbelievable race for Player of the Year, seemingly, that hasn't concluded yet. I'm really fired up for this week. I think it's just going to be a great weekend of golf on the PGA Tour and then on the LPGA Tour at TPC Boston as well.
Okay, so you mentioned it. It is the end of the Tour Championship at Eastlake, and it's been a fun thing to have this thing play out the way it is, but there are massive changes coming. Brian Rolap, the PGA Tour CEO, and will be the commissioner at the end of this season, taking over for Jay Monahan. He will have both titles at that point. Has alluded to the fact that they were going to try and make things different for the playoffs in the upcoming years. And in a press conference today, they did announce that it was going to be a very different look to the playoff. And there's a lot of moving parts to get to in all of this. And we could go through it line by line, but I think the best way to do this is to show our audience something that the PGA Tour put out on their Twitter feed and on their Instagram account. It's about a 90-second to 2-minute video explaining how this thing all works. So the best thing I think for us to do is to show everybody this video, and then we'll break it down after it. So let's run that video now.
This week in Atlanta, the top 30 golfers in the world are teeing it up for the Tour Championship, but starting in 2028, this event will look very different. Back in June, the PGA Tour announced a new model featuring 2 series of events. First, around 120 of the best golfers will be in the field each week on the PGA Tour Championship Series here in red, with others competing on the PGA Tour Challenger Series down here in blue, which will have field sizes of 144 players. So 2 tracks of events running concurrently, with the players and the majors sitting here in their normal spots. Now let's focus in on the Championship Series. Every event will award points, so players will climb and slide through the rankings all year, shown here with these red lines, and as the season comes to a close, the top 90 will keep their status on the Championship Series for next year, and those same 90 will play in the Championship Series finale. It's a normal stroke play tournament, but a few things will happen at the end. Of course, we will have a winner of the event itself, like a typical tournament, but there's also the season-long points leader, who will earn a separate trophy as arguably the best player in the world. And finally, the top 32 players in those season-long points will move on to the 2-week Tour Championship. The new format looks a little bit more like the World Cup than a typical golf tournament, where those 32 get split into 8 groups of 4. And in the first week, each player takes on the other 3 in his group, 1v1, 1 match a day in a traditional match play format. After those 3 rounds, the top 2 from each group, with ties broken in a playoff, move on to the second week at a new course. That leaves 16 players to compete in 4 rounds of bracket-style match play to determine the final standings, with only one going undefeated. undefeated and standing alone as the Tour champion. It's fun because most of the time golf is about the players versus the course, but now with this new format, it's whether a player can beat the other guy on the tee box and if they can do it 4 times in a row. The format changes a lot of things about the Tour Championship, but it also changes where it can go. Traditionally, a golf course is selected to host a tour event based on things like field size, style of competition, and course setup, which rule out a lot of great courses. But moving to a head-to-head match play format with a smaller field, and all of that falls away. And now the championship can rotate through the best courses in the country with a setup that gets fans closer than ever before. It is a big change, and as you watch this installment of the Tour Championship, know that the new format is on the horizon to look forward to in 2028.
Okay, so they're essentially
Oddly satisfying to watch
explained.
that.
Right? That's fantastic. I
It's so
love
good.
the guy that does this. He does a bunch of stuff like this. He's used in a bunch of different places. But I think the biggest takeaway is, first of all, we're still going to have a Tour Championship, and that'll determine who wins this thing. But then after that, the top 32 will go into a 2-week match play format. And I love that. You know, you and I have talked about this before, that to me, the playoffs don't feel like real playoffs because so much weight carries over from the regular season. And in every other sport, that's not how it is. We have a regular season award, and then we have a postseason situation. And so many times in football, basketball, baseball, hockey, the teams with the best seasons don't end up winning the playoff. And what I love about this, I think it's going to be a way to determine and value the playoffs as a separate entity as opposed to something that's just sort of a carryover from the regular season.
I like that point. I also think, too, the thing that's going to get people most excited are what we're hearing about some of the venues they're going to be able to go to. Places where we haven't traditionally seen on television, like I've heard Pine Valley, you've heard names like Seminole. I don't know what that's going to end up being, but even if it's not the cream of the crop there in terms of those names, we're going to get to new places and different places that we haven't seen the world's best players compete, which is always exciting. I'm with you. I think there's a level of kind of separation here that gives the postseason itself its own kind of special identity. And no better way to do that than reintroducing match play into this, right? I mean, it's the purest form of the game. We talk about that. I think, too, that people are always afraid of the championship and not having it be a really alluring TV product, right? Where you don't know who you're going to get ultimately. It's not always going to be Scottie versus Rory, Tiger versus Phil in the championship. But I think you're kind of... My friend and colleague Shane Bacon made a great point today. He said, we need to rethink how we get excited about it. Think about the NCAA tournament. We're most excited for the beginning, right? The first 4 days are, arguably more exciting than, the Final Four or Elite Eight. Now you get some matchups down the road eventually that are incredible, but if you, in the NCAA tournament, if you get like Loyola Marymount and like a 7 seed from the Big 12, like, okay, that's going to happen too. But think about how exciting the beginning is, where you've got the big names. You're not always going to ultimately get, the superstars at the end. But I think he made a great point of, you can look at this and be excited about different things and not be fearful of what, may or may not come from a match play situation where you don't have, the top names duking it out because somebody else earned their way in. The larger point is, I love that they're returning to match play. I love this introductory element of something different and new. And like you said, it gives the postseason a special identity.
And you've said this all along. The whole thing about these playoffs have been going on for basically 20 years. It's been constant change on how we look at it, how we grade it, how we allow these things going in. So for people saying, wait a minute, this has changed. Yes, this is what this has always been. As long as there's been this FedEx Cup race, it feels like there's always been something that's been changed and tweaked and sort of put in a different spin. And this, I think, is a whole new ballgame. And I'm looking at somebody out there put up what the possible brackets would be like for the 32 going, if it was in play this year. The first group would have Scottie Scheffler at 1, Matsuyama 16, 17, Ryan Gerard, JT Poston at 32. The second group is Matt Fitzpatrick, Akshay Bhatia. Gary Woodland would be 31 in that one. Lee would be 18. Cameron Young would be the third seed. And you go up to Russell Henley, Rattan, the young Norwegian, and Ricky Fowler. I mean, the idea of how this works is fascinating to me. And when you see it that way, like the top 8 seeds would be Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, Young, Siwoo, Wyndham, Sam Burns, Chris Gotterup, and Tommy Fleetwood. Those are the top 8 in each one of those brackets of 4, and then you whittle it down over the next two rounds. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, and I worked for years on a preview show at Golf Channel for the match play, where we actually went to Austin. We had a big theater. We did it in, and it was a true World Cup type format where you have your A group, B, C, and D, and we drew out who was in each group. Think about that. Like if you've got, Rory McIlroy, theoretically, let's just say this week, I think he's going in 12th or something like that, like into or he did going into the playoffs. Well, the point is, like, you can have these big names and draw out, and they're like, oh, wait, we've got Rory and Scottie in the same group in the first match in the first series of this. Like, there's all kinds of different exciting elements to where you can have really intriguing storylines that kind of open themselves up in kind of a surprise fashion if you've got this World Cup draw type system going on.
Yeah, and I think the whole point of this has been, we need to try and do something new. Because it doesn't, like, again, my biggest takeaway from all of this is, like, if Rory and Scottie can show up for the first 2 and realize they have no danger of being missed out on the final Tour Championship or the top 5 or whoever, then it's not a real playoff. It's not a real playoff, because a playoff to me is, okay, everything, as we said, did in the regular season, now you got to do it. Look at how we look at whether it's baseball players or football players, quarterbacks specifically. Oh, yeah, that guy was great in the regular season, but did he get it done in the postseason? Derek Jeter might have the greatest stat line of all time when it comes to postseason. He literally played essentially a full regular season of postseason games, and his numbers are off the charts. Hit 300, 20 home runs, all these hits, all this kind of stuff in these clutch moments. You want to see players in a different kind of situation where they don't have this thing where they can just coast through the first couple of rounds knowing they're going to get where they want to be anyway. I love the idea of putting them in a more stressful situation to say, okay, now it's about not what you did in May, April, or June. It's about, can you beat the guy in front of you? Because that's the essence of true competition.
I think, too, the legacy of constant change over these last 20 years with the FedEx Cup playoffs, it's ultimately because it's a square peg in a round hole. Like, it's
right.
always going to have something that someone has an issue with, because it's a non-traditional new way of putting a postseason at the end of your year. Like, this sport is always going to be structured in a way where the 4 biggest weeks of the year are what they are, right? And look, you can be additive. You can have a great championship like the Players, and you can have incredible team events like the President's Cup we're going to have coming up here in a couple of weeks. And the FedEx Cup playoffs are in addition to that as well. But there's always going to be something that you can change, because you can't get an A+ grade on this thing. It's just impossible,
right?
Because of the way people are going to perceive it. So that's why I think you get this constant change. And I think we're one step closer to something great. And I think that's what you're always trying to pursue in this thing that you can never reach perfection in.
Right. So look, it's something new that's coming. It'll take, basically 2 years from now to get here, which sounds weird to say. But I'm really excited about it. I'm excited how this is going to look, and it may turn out to be a disaster. Who knows? But I like the idea of trying something different.
Trey, the sun might explode and kill us all tomorrow. Who knows, buddy?
Correct. It could be 3 minutes from now. So let's shake it up. Let's see what we can do, and we'll move forward. Now, there was something else that Brian Roloff addressed in his press conference today announcing this, and someone was asking him the question about what are we doing with Rory McIlroy? Because Rory, as we all know, did not complete the 15 tour event limit, to maintain status on the PGA Tour. And Brian had alluded to this in June when he had his press conference at TPC River Highlands before the Travelers Championship. He's like, look, he's not going to make it. We'll figure something out. And basically, he was asked that question again. He's like, well, if you look at that rule, it was a rule about people that had dual memberships between us and the DP World Tour. And it was kind of an archaic rule. And Rory has done wonderful things for us. And my favorite part is he leaned in. But if you look at that rule as written, I have great power over that rule. And so I think everything's going to work out fine, which is basically his way of saying, it ain't a big deal. I'm going to make sure that everything is where it needs to be because, damn it, I say so.
Yeah, it's the higher up at the company who sees the silly HR rule or whatever, some kind of policy that doesn't hurt anybody, is like, no, I don't care. Get it out of here. Like, ultimately, what are we doing? So, I think cooler heads prevail, I guess. That's not the right term, but logic kind of set in, and I don't think anything needs to be done. Also, I just wanted to say the word Ibiza, because that's where Rory was in lieu of making some of these starts. He was in Ibiza.
Yes, and the videos
as megastars should be.
Yes, exactly right. And apparently the best view of the eclipse that happened a couple weeks ago was in Ibiza. Apparently it was the place to be, and maybe that's why Rory was there to begin with.
That's why he's there. It's where he should be.
He's a star watching the starry sky play out. So we'll see what happens there.
Quince does fewer, better pieces. Premium materials built to last. Premium denim and tailored chinos starting at $60, with the fit and fabric quality you'd expect from brands charging maybe 3 times that much. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/wingo. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Do you actually know what's in your creatine? Look, most brands chase flavors, formats, and marketing. Momentous went after the creatine itself. Pharmaceutical facility, reverse osmosis water, 6 stages of testing, 4 independent agencies. They got it done right. LiveMomentous.com, code WINGO, up to 35% off. So when I tell you Cash App has been a game changer, trust me, I mean it. The Cash App card, available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship from an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see. If you're ready to give your teen more independence and stay in the loop, download the Cash App and sponsor their account today.